We explain the news on 938 Live.
This is the Breakfast Club on 938 Live. A very good morning. It's Keith. Have you got your decoder rings out? Have you been, partial to any cereal boxes that offer the decoder rings? But that is an aside. We're going to attempt to do something that many parents have been agonizing over for the longest period of time. What we want to do is an attempt to decode the direct school admissions. Okay, it's a DSA program, and it's in title of a new book, Decoding the DSA by leong. Leong is also the founder of the Parents Academy and Black Box Learning. He is also a professional educator. We're told it offers personal reflections, analysis, commentary on the educational landscape, as well as the perspective of a kiasu parent. It outlines strategies for parents to lead their children through a labyrinth of critical juncture choices to their educational end goals. We want to find out whether it's the parent's educational end goals or the child's educational end goal. Decoder rings on this program are not provided, but if you have a question for, of course, Leong, give us a call, 669-11938. All it remains for me to do, Leong, welcome into the Breakfast Club, and thank you for doing this. First and foremost, the title of the book, Decoding the DSA, the ultimate parental guide to success in the direct school admission. Why the need for this book?
I think a central part of the book, right, is to show parents and candidates the skills that we need.
Sure.
Okay? Because as a parent myself and as a professional educator, I went through the entire process last year. And I discovered that the mechanics of the process, right, were very straightforward.
Okay.
But the elements of success, right, had to be built upon preparation and skills.
Okay.
And the key thing to note is that the skills which the candidates need to succeed, they are not taught in school.
Okay.
The 12-year-olds are not taught interview skills. They are not taught how to write personal statements.
Okay.
They are not taught how to take the GAT test or the internal selection test, which the schools use to screen and to select candidates.
Okay.
So, as a parent and as an educator, because I do this on a regular basis professionally, I have helped students, my students to do so.
Sure.
And I discovered that there is a need to teach and to guide parents and candidates who feel lost.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is something new to me because, see, I do not have children, and I'm way up there on the.
Good for you.
Yes, all I have is a pet. So, and I think sometimes it's a lot easier that way, and it doesn't talk back to you. Let's talk about the DSA. Does the kid at 12 years old? It was my impression. You get the required number of points. You go to school of your choice or an educational facility of your choice, but that doesn't seem to be the case. They have to write essay. There is another test after the PSLE.
No, this actually happens before the PSLE.
Okay.
Now, the rationale behind the DSA scheme is holistic assessment. So candidates, they present their talents and they present their skills in order to fit into the school they want, because the schools will offer special programs for the students to fit in,
like sports or whatever criteria that they have.
Yeah, the programs run the gamut.
Sure.
They could be something completely esoteric like entrepreneurship.
Okay, at 12. Okay, very cool.
Yeah, really cool. Yeah. So the kids have to. They will try to apply. Okay, under a certain scheme. Now the key thing is that application, submissions is predicated upon how they project the persona. Okay, I am talented in this. I'm talented in that. Now, how the schools measure this talent, right, is through selection tests and screening tests, which is standardized.
Okay.
Now, given that most average 12-year-olds who struggle with vast amounts of homework, right, they don't have the time. And they don't have structured guidance on how to approach all these standardized tests. Okay, so the parents who come from a generation where all these things didn't exist, they feel helpless. They don't know how to help them.
Sure.
Okay, which is why the book, Decoding DSA, is to teach and to guide candidates and to parents how to apply the skills to the test so that they can be successful in their applications.
And of course, in your teaching academies, you teach parents and children to perhaps go through this process as well?
Yes. The teaching the parents to teach their kids, right, is relatively new in the industry. This is very much the avant-garde of our industry.
Okay.
So the philosophy is that parents, right, okay, they are the real stakeholders in their children's academic journeys, and that parents, right, okay, they have the time and the attention, okay, to spend on their children. Okay, so when you teach the parents what to do, and you teach them why the students are graded according to certain criteria, then they know, and they can explain to the children in a very non-confrontational environment at home. Okay, now, son, okay, this is why you did badly for this. Okay, and this helps the child. Okay, and this kind of structured guidance, right? Okay, for the child on a regular basis, right? Okay, is very useful to the child. It's very supportive, and it ties in with the whole idea of the supportive parent, bringing the child and going with the child on the entire journey.
We neglected to say the money. There's money involved in all of this as well. If you are the dedicated parent, structure. We've been told that the education system is gearing towards, standardizing things and letting the kid be a child and enjoy the process of education. But it seems to be the fact that the onus and the pressure being placed on children are by the parents themselves, or the parents are freaking out themselves.
I think the reality is that we live in a very competitive society. I mean, Singaporeans, we compete for everything. We compete for jobs. We compete for cars, definitely. We compete.
That's a whole other story.
Yes.
We'll take that offline. Yes.
We compete for houses, and every child, okay, every aspirational parent, from before the preschool years,
right?
Okay, they compete to enter the best preschools, however that is defined. They compete to enter the best primary schools, okay, and then they compete to enter the best universities
and have the best tuition teachers.
Yes. Okay. I mean, tuition exists, okay, primarily because they give children that competitive edge. Okay, and it ties in with the whole idea of competition. This is very Asian. Okay, and I mean, in my view, it's very universal.
Sure.
Okay, I mean, look at every advanced society out there. Everyone competes. So I think it's a little bit unrealistic to expect society and parents and students not to be competitive.
669-11938 is our number. If you want to get in on the conversation, we are decoding the DSA, the ultimate parental guide to success in the direct school admission. What you need to know, what you shouldn't need to know if you have a child, perhaps taking the PSLE at the end of the year and are perhaps at a loss as to how to guide them through the DSA. Why don't you give us a call? Leong is the author. He's also a professional educator. He joins us in the studio about his new book. Of course, he's obviously identified a need or a niche that many people are falling through the cracks, not making the correct choices for their children. Thank goodness I keep saying and reiterating, I do not have that problem. 669-11938 is the number. We will come back after an update of the news and what's happening on the roads of Singapore.
The LTA traffic news on 938 Live.
669-11938 is the number in the studio. Let's see what's happening on the roads right now. All the men have come out to work. We've got men at work on Toh Guan Road. This is near Jurong East Avenue 1 and Jurong East Central Junction. We also have men at work on Toh Guan Road again towards Jurong East Central. And traffic's heavy on the PIE towards the airport between Eng Neo Avenue and Adam Road. Traffic watches number 62558400. If you have updates for us, give them a call. If you have questions for our guest this morning, Leong, call us in the studio, 669-11938.
938 Live gets you talking.
A reminder now of our top stories this hour. U.S. President Barack Obama launches an attack on Donald Trump's reaction to the Orlando shooting. And more scuffles in France as authorities struggle to contain fan violence at the Euro 2016 Games. Also, Singapore Airlines said it will buy all Virgin Australia shares that it is allowed to purchase in an entitlement offer by the Australian carrier. The SIA will spend up to $270 million to buy new shares in Virgin Australia. For more of the news, head to channelnewsasia.com. We also want to hear from you at our 938 Live Facebook page.
We talk with you on 938 Live.
Those days, you don't need to earn much. You need coconut, you drop to the tree, we get the coconut. But today, everything has to go by.
Take a trip down memory lane with me, Chewy Lin, as I explore the cultural and historical events that have shaped Singapore.
We move on from poverty to education to some measure of wealth.
Catch the new show Heritage and History every Friday at 3:30 p.m. on 938 Live.
Overheard on a Slice of Life Hour.
Something I teach, the 3 S's. So there's strengths. You first have to know that you are good in something. The second S would be style. So that's the way you talk, the way you carry yourself. And then the third one, which is very weak for most people, is story. And that's very weak for many brands as well, especially local brands. They try to tell you discount, they tell you the product feature, but very weak on story. But very big brands, for example Apple and so on, they are very good in storytelling, and therefore you have an emotional connection to them.
I'm Eugene Low. Join me and my guests on a Slice of Life Hour for your dose of do-it-yourself motivation. Mondays from 9:30 p.m. and 10:30 p.m. Saturdays from 2:30 p.m. and 3:30 p.m. and Sundays from 6:30 p.m. and 7:30 p.m. Only on 938 Live.
We explain the news on 938 Live.
We're back into the Breakfast Club on 938 Live, trying to decode the DSA, the ultimate parental guide to success in the direct school admission. And this is a new book by Leong, educator, and of course the author of the new book. Leong, welcome back into the program. But before we speak some more about the DSA, we have a caller. Hamza, you have a question or a comment, sir? Go ahead.
Yeah, hi everyone. Sorry, I just got in my car and I caught the show in the middle. Sure. I am an educator myself. I'm a chemistry teacher. Mm-hmm. And I just would like to make a little comment. Sure. There was a mention about competitiveness and competition in general in Singapore. Mm-hmm. Yes, I totally agree with that. But especially in education, our aim should be to eliminate competition rather than encourage competition, because I think competition is actually not in line with the philosophy of education itself. So rather than training our students like training them for a competition, we should try to eliminate this mentality for competing for schools. Now we need to understand that success in life actually comes with age, and most people start realizing what they really want maybe when they are mid-20s or so, maybe after graduation. And many people actually, even after getting a university degree, they realize that they didn't actually need a degree or to pursue whatever they wanted. So what I'm trying to say is we need to we shouldn't put too much emphasis on which school our kids go to, and instead try to give them the best of life experience that we can. That's what I'd like to say.
Hamza, very noble thoughts before, and you've preempted my next question for Leong, but could I ask you, sir, did you know that you wanted to go into the field of chemistry?
Yes.
And what age did you make your decision?
Well, when I was in high school. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for your call. We always appreciate calls into the program. 669-11938. Leong, Hamza has preempted my next question. Again, we are moving towards a more holistic education system, but can it be on the ground right now realistic? We talked about the reality on the ground, that everyone's competing for a limited number of places. There the so-called elite schools, although every school is a good school, we must say, parents still have that goal for their kids to aspire to, and if you don't go to that good school, your whole life is ruined and you're going to be sweeping the roads like Keith.
That has always been the caricature, but I think the education landscape has changed. So when people talk about holistic assessment, right?
Sure.
A lot of times, right, they forget that holistic assessment, okay, is predicated upon on things like personal statements.
Sure.
Okay, when you apply to
Character, does it come into play at all?
But how do you project your character?
Okay.
Through a personal statement. Okay, when you meet somebody, okay, for interview. I mean, that is what has changed dramatically from the previous generation to the present generation. I mean, from a policy point of view, right? Okay, the ministry has always said that is saying now that going forward, okay, the universities, the polytechnics, right? Okay, they are going to use holistic assessment.
Sure.
Now, the mechanism whereby holistic assessment is implemented is through interview, is through personal statements, is through submission of portfolios.
Sure.
Now, these are things which are not taught in school. These are not academic subjects.
Right.
Yeah. So, candidates and parents, okay, to succeed in this holistic assessment, they need skills which have not been taught.
669-11938, we're generating a lot of interest this morning on the phones. A very good morning. Could I have your name, please?
Yes, okay, Tony here.
Hey, Tony, hi. We were talking about decoding the DSA, sir. So we're talking about... Yes, go ahead.
I think picking up on the conversation of the two gentlemen, Leong and Hamza, is it?
Yes, Hamza.
I think, let me offer a third point of view, in the sense that both of them are right, okay? In the sense that, education is not a one-time, at a point-in-time process.
Sure.
It's from when you enter school or even before you enter school at home.
Until you leave the world.
Yes, precisely.
Yes.
So I think the question is, when do you open up, or when do you want your child to feel that, that there's that competition is something which you can never run away in life? Okay, even though you don't want to compete, there are others who want to compete, and by doing that, you'll be left far behind because nobody will come, will invest here. Nobody will bother to take a second look at Singapore. Okay, so I think it's a question of it has reached a point whereby my own personal view is that the parents protect the child so much that they are totally disaligned with the real world. Let me tell you.
Okay. Is that your experience, Tony? Is that your experience?
Yes, my experience also. Because when I was young, I thought, I came from a small town in Pahang. I mean, people thought, I thought that, that is the world. But when I come to Singapore, I look at it, it's another different world. And when I start to work, I go to other countries, it's another different world, It tells you that to be competitive, first thing is that, you got to understand their culture. 1, 2 is that, to be competitive, you got to understand their language. So these are the things that go in. Is it competition as a word? It's, to me, it's like, a box. It's not something that you find one that's inside it and say, this is competition. No. Everything goes in the box to make you more competitive. And I think that is the type of culture we want in the for a child. Okay.
Thank you so much, Tony, for your input this morning, which is a point that many people have raised. Yes, it is good to have the notion of a holistic education, but we also want to instill some form of fire in our children, because if we don't, we're going to get swallowed as well. Competition exists everywhere, like Tony says, and we want to find that out from Leong as well. We talked about the perception of elite schools and every school being a good school. Is it ever possible with limited resources, and we're using it in our context, to eliminate competition altogether? And is it a good thing?
I don't think it's possible to eliminate competition altogether, and I don't think it is a good thing.
Okay.
Simply because, as you said yourself, right, without the fire, okay, like what I always tell my children, right, is that if you do not heat iron, it never becomes steel. So for Singaporeans to go out there into the world, okay, and to compete, okay, with everyone else, okay, they have to.
Sure.
Yeah, look at what is happening in China and Korea and Japan, where it's so competitive.
Indeed.
Okay, and it's the same thing here. I mean, the from a policy point of view, when people talk about holistic assessment, when they look at the all-rounded student, the American-style all-rounded student, okay, this is why students in Singapore, okay, they have to react to the policy changes, okay, not focus just on academics, okay, but also to focus on holistic assessments and the skills that you need to succeed under the holistic assessment scheme. So it adds to their workload.
Striking the balance comes to be the question I'd need to ask you next. How does someone strike the balance? Yes, we want our kids to enjoy their educational process. Like some of our callers said, learning is a lifelong thing from the day you come into the world to the day you leave it, and it doesn't stop. But it seems to be here in Singapore at the age of 12, everything grinds to a halt, because if you don't get the decent score, your whole life is ruined. I mean, true or false? I mean, you know.
I think that the parent has a great role to play. The parent has to make choices for the child. The parent has to convey to the child and educate the child. Okay, these are the values that are important to me. This is the kind of child that I want. Okay, these are my goals. Okay, for you. These are the educational endpoints. I mean, if a parent understands the child and knows that the child has artistic talents,
certain potential. Yeah.
Yes. So instead of pushing the child to the medicine faculty in university, right? The parent can send the child for art training. Of course, it all depends on resources.
How to make money? Can make money, and all.
See, that is the crux of the issue.
Indeed.
Okay. In Singapore, right? Okay. The question always boils down to dollars and cents. Security.
Sure.
Education buys security.
Right.
Okay. Which, if you look at many European countries, okay, they do not have this obsession. So as long as this mentality persists, okay, it will be quite difficult to eliminate competition.
And of course, in Singapore, a parent would feel that I am neglecting my duty for bringing this child into the world if I didn't give him the best I possibly could.
Yes.
And prepare him for what the world is going to bring upon him.
And the
or
best
her.
preparation would be to send the child to the elite school, not because of the school's reputation, not because of the facilities, not because of teachers, but because of the people sitting around the child. So getting into a good school, okay, I mean, most parents, their logic is very simple. I will send my child to the good school because it is a good school.
Indeed.
Yeah, and they learn from their peers.
So what would you hope that people would get out of this particular book, Decoding the DSA?
I think that what would be very useful for both candidates and for parents, right, okay, would be the skills that are described in the book. And this will help not only primary 6 students, for students who are O-level students, for students who are going to university, the skills are applicable across the age range. Yeah. So this will help them. Okay, whether they are applying to universities locally or overseas. Okay, these are things which will help them, and I doubt very much that their schools would place great emphasis on these, because the schools are trying very hard to cover the syllabus.
And on that particular note, I wish we had more time. Kok Leong, say you come back, talk to us again. Sure. We were speaking with Lai Kok Leong. Kok Leong is the author of Decoding the DSA. He is also a professional educator. And of course, we'd like to thank Tony and Hamza for calling in and weighing in on the issue of education this morning right here on The Breakfast Club. And don't forget, there is an encore broadcast at The Breakfast Club at 5:30. You can catch it there again. Lai Kok Leong, thank you once again for making it in, and you've been listening to The Breakfast Club on 938 Live. I'm Keith D'Souza.
938 Live gets you talking.